Get busy living or get busy dying. Andy Dufresne said that in Shawshank Redemption. Before I began this creative journey, I was looking back and just seeing the mistakes, the flaws, the missed opportunities, full of regret and angst and aching, and looking forward and just thinking, the only thought I really had was, oh, how can I beef up my pension and not be a burden to my children as I slowly wither up and shrivel up and then ultimately die. Oh, it was a terrible place to be. And now I am looking back and I'm seeing the things that, the places that I overcame and the things that I learned and the lessons that I've learned, and how I can take all of that and metabolize it and understand who I really am and look forward. And now when I look forward, I see people, I see possibility, I see excitement, I see opportunity, and I see an opportunity mostly to shine a light of hope in this world. And in today's journey, we're going to travel alongside the wonderful characters from the Shawshank Redemption. And we're going to look at hope and resilience and how to tackle this journey one step at a time as we step into our next glorious act, because it is so exciting. Oh, that's cold. I'm so tired of cold dregs, my darlings. Aren't you? Aren't you? Warning, spoiler alert. We are going to be exploring the film The Shawshank Redemption, and if you haven't seen it yet and you want to see it fresh, then just move this little video down to your watch later. The seed of hope is born in the dark, planted in the dark. The thumbnail of this video is Hope is a Discipline, because in order to experience hope, we can't be lying scrolling on our phones. Hope is born of action. And I think of Andy Dufresne and how he, under the most brutal of circumstances, walked with a quiet dignity. He started initially carving sculptures, and he asked Red to acquire a little rock hammer for him, and he began crafting these sculptures. And then one night he was carving something into the wall of his prison cell, and a piece of the plaster chipped off, and then that's where it left us. And unbeknownst to all of us, Andy spent the next 20 years quietly digging himself out of the tunnel. And that's the hope. He had hope. That's why I think he could have and give so much to his fellow inmates. It made him shine. He established a library and taught and educated people. And he gave so richly and generously to his environment, because all the time he had hope. And with every handful of dirt that he'd walk around and spread around the yard during the day surreptitiously, with every handful of dirt, he was replenishing his hope. And I suppose it's also interesting to note that initially Andy's request for the rock hammer was for him to be creative, and he would carve these little chess pieces, and then he got onto the pathway, and one thing led to another. And I'm reminded of one of my favorite quotes from Rumi: as you start to walk, the way appears. So it's about taking that first step, and it's about starting imperfect. Oh, did I bump my microphone? It's about starting imperfect and just starting and see where the path leads. You start maybe with a vision, a hope, but you get started. And that's what our Andy Dufresne taught us about hope. Hope is a discipline. It is born of action. Shawshank deals a lot with the idea of institutionalization, how our familiar walls can become a cage and we don't even know it. There's the one scene where Brooks, the old man who had the crow, and the crow Jake, and he was about to be released after serving a life sentence, and he was feeling this freedom coming towards him, and it absolutely terrified him. And he took Haywood, one of the other prisoners, he grabbed him and he held a knife to his throat, and he pierced the skin, and everybody said, "What are you doing, man? What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then he just broke down and he started to cry, because he thought that if he committed some sort of crime, they would let him stay. And Red says so beautifully, well, then Brooks did get released, and then he went on to experience his freedom, and it overwhelmed him, and it didn't end well. And Red said, when one of the prisoners were asking him, what is institutionalization? Red said, these walls are funny. First you hate them, then you get used to them. Enough time passes, you get so you depend on them. That's institutionalized. Oh, I can't do it the way Morgan Freeman does. His mellifluous tones. Oh, he's magnificent in that role. So we cling to what's familiar because it makes us feel safe. Maybe it's a job. Maybe it's versions of ourselves. And we avoid the unknown because we find it so threatening. And we stay stuck. So, what safety are you holding on to? How have you confused safety and freedom? Transformation asks of us to leave the cage even before we've learned to fly. And if we have enough courage and enough discipline, we can embrace it. And courage isn't about not being afraid. Courage is about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Hope lifts others. And that's another beautiful message from this film. Andy shone so brightly, and he gave so richly to his environment because he had a mind to freedom. He had an idea of where he was going and what he wanted his life to look like. And in the one scene, it came at the turning point sort of early-ish in the film. If you remember, Andy he'd had a brutal time for 3 years, being brutalized by this gang, the sisters. And he cut a deal with Captain Hadley on the roof, nearly died in the process as Hadley was dangling him over the roof. I mean, that was an act of courage. And he cut a deal with Captain Hadley saying that he would help him save some money on this inheritance that Captain Hadley had recently been the recipient of. And all I ask in return is a bottle of suds for my friends. All he wanted was some beer for his friends. And then we see Andy. A little bit later, we see him in the afternoon sun sitting there. And he was just sitting there with this glorious smile on his face. And Haywood walked over and offered him a beer. He said, "No, thank you. I don't drink anymore." And he just sat there enjoying the moment. And Red's voiceover, he says, "We sat and drank with the sun on our shoulders." Why is it making me want to cry? Oh my goodness. We sat and drank with the sun on our shoulders and felt like free men. Hell, we could have been tarring the roof of one of our own houses. We were the lords of all creation. And Andy, he sat in the corner with a smile on his face. Beautiful. Oh, and then the other scene, the Mozart scene, where Andy locked himself in the room, in the office, and over the tannoy he played La Nozze da Figaro, the marriage of Figaro. I don't know why this is making me want to cry. He played this tannoy, this sound, and the cinematography was breathtaking, and we saw cutaways or whatever, inserts or a montage of upliftment as Andy sat there for himself, just relishing the music. And you saw the prisoners in, cut to a scene in the hospital where the prisoners who were in the hospital got out of their prison beds and looked out of the window, and in that moment they were reminded of freedom. And there's the one scene of the men, they stopped in this large prison yard, and the camera sort of swept upwards, and and so everything was just, everybody was elevated by that beautiful moment. And of course the warden could have none of that, because you can't subjugate people and oppress them and keep them down when they're full of hope and they're feeling light. They are just harder to control. And Andy, again, gifted, this time, the whole prison with that moment of exquisite hope and exquisite freedom. And all the time, Andy knew in the background he was digging his way to freedom. And I think it gave him something. Well, it must have. Of course it did. And then Red's voiceover. He said, I tell you, those, oh dear, why am I just wanting to cry? What the actual hell, man? Sorry. No, I'm not apologizing. This movie, I love it. It is my favorite movie of all time. I tell you, those voices soared higher and farther than anybody in grey places dares to dream. It was like some beautiful bird flapped into our drab little cage and made those walls dissolve away. And for the briefest of moments, every last man in Shawshank felt free. Hope is contagious. When Andy played that opera music through those loudspeakers, he gave everyone such a remarkable gift. The gift of hope. He created a moment of freedom through a quiet act of rebellion. So Andy inspires me and can inspire you to ask, what difference can I make in the world? Your hope isn't just for you. It's a gift to others. When one person dares to believe, it reminds everyone what is possible. And then we end up in Zihuatanejo, this little town and a little village in the Pacific. And Red joins him. It is the most splendid ending. Red says, I hope the Pacific is as blue as it has been in my dreams. It's a beautiful metaphor for freedom. For Red, it was impossible to imagine until he began to hope. And Andy taught him to hope, because initially he said hope is a dangerous thing. Kind of the idea of if you hope too much and your hopes get dashed, that can destroy you. And Andy's take on hope was something completely different, because Andy's hope was born of his daily discipline. He was nourishing his hope all the time through his actions. Andy's escape started with the first step. You remember, it started with the beginning of his creative journey, and then it became his escape, and it led him to freedom. And I really think that is such a beautiful idea. Hope begins in the mind. It's a shift. It's a mind shift. It's a belief that says, maybe life should be different. Oh, this journey I'm on is so beautiful. As I was saying earlier, I've gone from looking sadly to my past and being uninspired about my future to reframing my past and extracting all of the nutrition from it, using that suffering, not wasting that good suffering. Oh, and there's been a lot of joy too, make no error. And then pre-framing my future. I'm pre-framing, and it's starting to shift into focus in terms of what is actually possible. And what started off as, I think I'll start a channel, a YouTube channel that could be fun, is becoming something greater in terms of how I can serve the world, how I can, in my small way, be a beacon of hope in an ever-darkening world, and inspire you to come along with me. What is it that you're wanting to, that you've held there, that you haven't had the courage to bring it forth and to actualize? And we're doing this together. I'm not sitting here perfect in my little funny little place in the middle of nowhere. I ain't perfect, but I'm walking the road, and I really do invite you to join me. Come with me. Let's build something beautiful together. Healing begins the moment we believe it is possible. What does your version of Zihuatanejo look like? Dream. Go on. I dare you. And then take the first small, imperfect, messy as hell, terrifying step. And if you're already on the journey, keep treading, and we will arrive together. But the journey's not half bad, as Andy showed us. He brought a lot of joy to a darkened place, to a place of suffering. He brought light and he brought hope. So, I am an educator after all. We will wrap this up, a couple of key points. Number one, hope is a discipline. It is seeded in the dark and practiced daily. Number two, familiar is not safety. Don't confuse the two. Don't confuse your cage with comfort. Number three, your hope lifts others. Every small act of courage is like a spark. Number four, freedom starts right now. Liberation is an inside job. Then everything changes. I've created a workbook around this lovely journey. If you'd like to access it, it's a few journal prompts if you want to just travel a little bit deeper with some of the ideas. I've worked my way through it, and it was a deepening journey. You can access the workbooks in the link below, and it is there. They are my gift to you. So, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and a good thing never dies. Remember, you have everything you need. You are enough. And if there are broken pieces, you reassemble them and you fill the cracks with gold, and you step into this world and shine. And even if you stepping in and there's still a few broken bits here and there, that is okay too, because you are enough exactly as you are. You fit in, you belong. There's a place for you in this world, and you're going to be okay, and you're not alone. God bless. I will see you next time. Thank you for joining me. This lovely picture is what greets you if you visit my website. It's the landing page, and this isn't sponsored, but it's just a shout out of pure gratitude to the company that designed my website, because they captured my brand, me, so beautifully. If you're planning something for yourselves, I highly recommend them.